So today I do have five more facts, and we're going to list them and we're going to talk about them a little bit. The first fact is Saul was so afraid when they tried to make him king, he hid in some supplies so they couldn't find him. It says, when he was found, they noticed he was taller than most, and that's when Samuel said, there is no one like him. It looks like even in biblical times, people kind of literally looked up to tall people. They saw them as leaders for some reason. And also, we kind of have the mentality that Bible characters tend to be courageous, powerful people, but they're kind of just like us. They just need to be pushed a little bit so that they can become leaders. Fact number 2, Paul was unskilled in speech, and this can be found in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 6. I think that we place limits on ourselves that we have not really tested. See, we've never preached, so we simply say, no, I can't preach. The first sermon that I had was back in 2010, maybe, and the most that I remember from it was that my stomach was in a complete knot and I couldn't eat anything. 10 years later, after numerous sermons, I still get nervous, but I think I'm getting used to that nervousness. For those that have ever thought about preaching just for a second, don't think that you have to be reading verses and speaking spiritually 100% of the time. Sometimes we can just share about our testimony so that we can show others how great God is. We shouldn't be keeping God a secret from other people. Fact number 3, the golden calf which Aaron made for the Israelites was made only from earrings. That's in Exodus chapter 32, verses 2 to 4. Do you know how many earrings were needed to make a statue? Funny that even in these times, the women really love their jewelry. And this is a matter that people have often asked me about, if jewelry is allowed in church. And I tend to say the same thing every time. The church likes to frown upon things that go against tradition. I just want to read one verse. It's on 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 3 and 4. And it says, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. If you are the type that likes to wear jewelry or have a unique hairstyle, what scripture is saying is that shouldn't be what defines your beauty. It should be you, because you're God's creation. If you think that a shining rock is more beautiful than you, who's been created by God, then you're kind of putting off God's creation. That's where the sin lies. Fact number 4, there will be no marriages in heaven. And this is something that we talked about in small groups with Silver Spring. The verse that I referenced was in Luke. It's Luke chapter 20, verses 34 and 36. And this is what Jesus replied. It says, the people of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are considered worthy of taking part in the age to come and in the resurrection from the dead will neither marry nor be given in marriage, and they can no longer die, for they are like angels. I think this can be a little bit difficult to digest depending on your age group and of course your status, but there can be very different perspectives regarding this. Imagine asking an elderly couple who has been married for 50 years if they can imagine seeing themselves without their partner. Now imagine asking a couple who has only been married for a year if they can see themselves without their partner. So I think there's various perspectives about this. What we typically like to say is that the joy and the happiness of being with our Creator is going to be such a level of happiness that it won't compare to the happiness that our current partners provide for us. And fact number 5, in the genealogy of Jesus, which is listed in Matthew, there are 4 women. Tamar, who poses as a prostitute, Rahab, who was a prostitute, Bathsheba was an adulteress, and Ruth was a Gentile. She was actually a Moabite. And for those of you who don't know, the origins of the people of the Moabite people comes from a man named Moab. Now, how was Moab born? Well, if you know the character Lot, This character had two daughters. One of his daughters slept with him, and from that incestuous relationship came Moab. So when you really think about it, you might have this sense that Jesus would have come from more royal or a more clean genealogy, a pure genealogy, but that's just not the case. Jesus came from a disturbing genealogy to kind of illustrate that it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what happened in your past. He did so in order to prove that he came to save those exact people. He came to save the very sinners that form part of his genealogy. So never think that you're unworthy, because some of the people in the Bible did very, very bad things that don't even compare to the things that we do today. So never think that you're unworthy. So that's 5 facts. I'll have the last 1 fact of the week for you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.